What's up? I'm back with Roster Runner, helping me out with some run stuff, and one of the other things I wanted to provide you guys information on is nutrition for not only training for runs, but that while you're actually doing the thing, how to fuel it. This is a thing I'm terrible at, because for the most part, I'm still doing intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And so I usually don't eat till like 1 or 2 p.m. But I know with the training volume that I've got coming up, like that's not gonna be able to hold. It's not sustainable. I mean, if I'm doing, so that 90-minute run that we did this morning based on my Garmin, which is, it's an estimate,
Yep.
right? It's telling me that I did 1,200 calories.
Yep.
Like that's a big meal already by 7:30 in the morning.
Yes.
And so I'm in the hole.
Yep.
And if I wanna recover, and if I wanna gain strength, I have to fuel.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one thing that I struggled with in the beginning of my ultra running career was I was already fasting. I wasn't having my first meal till 1 p.m., but I would always be in a big deficit by the end of the day. And as an ultra runner, you have to be able to consume a high amount of calories. And if you're already fasting, it makes it really difficult if you have a small window of time.
Yep.
So you're going to have to eat breakfast. You're going to have to open that window up more.
Do you think for this training, like I should start trying to get something in before my AM cardio?
Depends on how early you do it. You know, some people like to run on an empty stomach. I do, for sure.
It doesn't seem to have been in effect yet.
I think it also kind of depends what you eat. A lot of ultra runners will do something easy on the system like egg whites or eggs. Oatmeal is another good thing. If you're going to eat right before, I would say give yourself at least a 30-45 minute window before you run after eating if you're going to.
Okay, so maybe something like egg bites or something like
Perfect.
that. Like Eat Right Foods makes egg bites that
Yeah.
we've been getting sent to us and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So that
really
should be
good
killer.
too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, so I think that would be something really good. What I would stay away from is stuff that is going to make you gassy. If something that you know just doesn't agree with your system, I would stay away from it because all of the movement and the bouncing is just going to amplify that.
So we don't want to go with something like a 4-pound burrito filled with with nacho cheese
Exactly.
before my 5-mile run day.
Stay away from the nacho cheese until
No gas
after.
station nachos until
Correct.
post run.
Anything from the gas station, stay away.
What?
Yeah, so.
They have bananas?
Yeah, but the bananas are.
You're right. That's questionable.
I'm not.
Listen, at some point, me having any banana is an upgrade.
Fair.
It's gas station
Fair.
bananas, all right. I'm not trying to have gas station sushi.
True. Or eggs, hard-boiled eggs. I did that one time.
Gas station eggs busted you up?
I just thought that, all right, I'm getting a hard-boiled
Yeah.
egg. It's going to be good for me. Worst idea I've ever had before running. Never buy gas station eggs.
I just store them on the dash of the truck until I need them. You know?
That's fair.
Let them nice and naturally warm up. So during my actual run, what am I looking at there? And I know that you also time it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably one of my top 3 favoriteest parts about running is when you're running these kinds of distances, you get to do a lot of testing and R&D to figure out what works best for you. Because I could sit here and say right now, well, you need X amount of calories per hour, you need this amount of water per hour, but that's what works for me. What's cool about being a runner is you get to be the scientist now. So you get to figure out what works best for your system. But the main things that you want to be focusing on is getting clear on how many calories you need per hour that works for you, how many ounces of water that you need per hour that works for you based on the environment that you're running in, but then also electrolytes. So those are the big 3, calories, water, electrolytes. Timing is crucial, but what's more important is like the actual calorie range or the amount of water.
So what about something like Monster Hydro, right? Is basically there. It's got electrolytes, but it's also got some caffeine, and it does have some carbohydrates if you use some of the others. So something like that could be great.
Something like that could be great. And I think that if you're mixing that in with just pure water, I think it'd be great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So maybe like a 2-to-1 ratio water to hydro.
Absolutely. But what I look at too is what's the electrolyte content in the Monster stuff. You want to make sure that depending on where you're running, typically in like hotter, drier climates, you want to have a little bit on the higher end of the electrolyte scale.
Yeah, I sweat like a pig anyway.
Right.
And then that place is just going to suck it out of me, despite that I'm not raining wet.
Yeah, for sure. And so like for most people that tend to sweat a lot, I like to be on like the higher end of the electrolyte range, which is anywhere from 600 to 800 micrograms per hour, milligrams per hour.
So using something else, maybe like Element salt packs or Noon tablets.
Those are all great.
Okay,
the Element, the Noon. Another one that I like a lot is a product made by Hammer Nutrition. That's a cool one too. You can get them in like little effervescent tabs that you throw in your water pack, but also where you're finding a lot
You don't
of
have any issue with your pack trying to blow up on you?
That's the thing too. A lot of people don't know, but if you just put the electrolyte tabs
it's
there and
terrible. You
close
can't
your
throw it in
pack,
a balloon.
yeah, exactly. So your whole pack starts to slowly
I like
expand.
to keep my drinks also cold with dry ice I throw in my pack. It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, man. So you gotta let some oxygen get into the pack before you close it when you throw your tabs in. Fun fact. But what I'm finding nowadays
Did you
is
learn that a fun way?
I actually had a pack explode.
Yes, tell me.
So I was 20 miles into a run. I was in Glacier National Park. I stopped at a creek to refill my bag. I filled it up to the top of my Camelback. I threw in 3 tabs, closed
all
it,
right.
and then I took off. Not only is it effervescent, but all of the shaking in the pack.
It's just worse.
It was terrible. And then all of a sudden, I just hear a pop. And then all of a sudden, my back is just
cold.
so-
Cold and wet.
Oh, God, I
Was
knew
it?
right
Did you
away.
hear it pop and go? Wait. Oh no.
Well, here's what happened. I blew out the bottom of my pack. Now I'm 20 miles into a 38-mile run.
Oh, man.
And now the only way that I'm going to be able to get water is whenever I come up on a stream because I can no longer hold
Do
water.
you carry
in
a
my
Sawyer
pack.
straw or anything like that?
No.
You just
At
go
that
straight from
point,
the
I
source?
didn't. Yeah, I go straight from the source. Oh, yeah,
You're in a
absolutely.
good place. I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that here.
There's not much higher than where I was. I was at like 7,000 feet. You know what I mean? So nothing is going to be
Whatever.
above me.
I had
Yeah.
300 feet of elevation gain today in the run, and I'm very tired. So I just need to do
Yeah.
4,000 feet during the Bryce game.
Come to Montana, man.
You see it like it's close and easy to get to.
That's the
But
best.
you're here, so I don't really have an excuse.
That's fair.
During the run, what about, so like if I'm looking at today, right? And
Yeah.
that's, I think today's pace that we had during the run, we're, 6 miles in an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. So give or take, I'm doing 5 miles an hour.
Yep.
Now I'm looking if I can hold that pace, I'm just about probably 4 hours for my run.
Yep.
And if that's, so today was, 11 or 1,200 calories an hour, how am I trying to combat that while actually on the move? Am I going to be able to do that calorically?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to making sure that you're getting in enough calories per day during your training ramp up. So we want to make sure that like we're building a base of getting enough calories in so that come race day, you're not going to be able to get that 1,200 calories back in an hour. So if we can build up a base of calories beforehand, it's going to help you much, much better come race day.
Okay.
So what I like to focus on is, again, going to being the scientist, is figuring out how many calories does my body like in a specific amount of time. And so for most people, that's in the 100 to 200 calories per hour range.
Okay.
So you can figure out what works best for you.
So that leaves me 10x short of what I'm burning.
Correct. So I did my weight before the 100 in Arizona, and after, I was 11 pounds lighter.
No way.
Yeah.
You lost
Just
11 pounds on
11.
182?
Yeah.
That's a big percentage shift.
Yeah, it was big, but I put that weight on pretty much in the
Yeah,
next few days, right?
of course, right? Because it's dehydration, plus
Yeah.
you're in the desert. And it's just
So many
fatigue,
factors.
and then in the next couple of days, once swelling shows back up, you're going to
Yeah.
hold on to some of that water
For
plus
sure.
the rehydration, right?
For sure. So there's a couple different ways that you can get calories too. Most of the time you can get stuff through gel packs, which I would definitely recommend.
Okay.
I mean, even if you're not used to gel packs, what's cool about them is you're getting simple sugars. It's really easy to digest that stuff. You're not getting a bunch of food in your stomach. Definitely get used to the gel packs because they'll save you a lot if you're new to running, especially.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Don't pack like a soup.
Don't pack a soup. Don't pack a sandwich.
I got a good can of soup I'm going to crack open and drink mid-trail.
Raviolis.
Raviolis. Just a bag, like a Ziploc bag full of spaghetti and meatballs in my backpack.
Please don't do it, man.
Terrible plan.
So start with some gel packs. And
They
the
say
cool
carb
thing-
load.
Yeah, carb loading. Most people get carb loading wrong. Most people think that it's best to carb load like the night before or a couple days before. That doesn't work.
Yeah, a few hours before.
Right, don't do that. That doesn't work. It's just going to leave you feel bloated and gassy. And the best way to carb load is to do it weeks and months in advance,
Okay.
slowly ramping up those
So
carbohydrates.
maybe dietary wise, since I'm still doing things relatively ketogenic right now, or just low carb, we'll say.
Excellent.
I'm not really doing ketogenic for those out there. because I'm not tracking and I'm not checking to see if I'm in ketosis. So
Yeah.
if I'm not in ketosis, I'm just doing low carb, higher fat, moderate protein.
Right, it's kind of like it is.
So maybe me switching back to start adding more white rice back in my diet. I know I digest that fine. It doesn't give me too much inflammation. It doesn't seem to piss anything off.
Yeah.
So probably adding that back in and starting to do more of a vertical diet approach back would probably be good for me.
I think it is. Yeah, because here's what you'll find too is the longer the distance, at some point your body is going to start craving whole foods. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to make that switch. You may experience it at mile 10, mile 15, but it's going to happen. And if you're going keto, you're probably not going to find bacon and avocados at the aid stations. So it's important to have foods that are easily digestible, like carbohydrates.
What am I going to run into at the aid stations?
Fun stuff, man.
Fun
Your
stuff?
top ramen. There's always like watermelon, candy, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. A lot of carbohydrates you're going to find there. So for most runners, it just makes sense to have more of a carbohydrate-based diet leading up to it.
Sure.
So that you're not stuck at an aid station eating whole foods and not having anything available to you.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'll start adding in some gels and stuff like
Yep.
that. Anything that are favorites, like what are my top 3 I should just have?
In whole foods or gels?
Gels.
Okay, so I really like a product by GU. GU, just GU. The cool thing about GU is that they have so many different flavor options and they're all really good. So I like the strawberry kiwi by GU. I like the watermelon. I like the Coca-Cola flavor and the chocolate.
Coca-Cola flavor.
Coca-Cola is cool too because if you're running like a longer race and it goes into the night, the Coca-Cola flavor has caffeine in it, and that really helps, especially at the night portion of the run.
All right.
Yeah.
What about, do you take any type of like amphetamine supplement, an upper, pre-workout?
The only pre-workout that I'll do is a banana, and I typically do that beforehand. And
I don't think anyone's ever referred to pre-workout in the shape of a banana, a
So-
potassium pistol.
Exactly. So I'll tell you where I learned that was when I was in Jamaica in my community, my Rasta community there, one of the elders is a runner. And before we went on a run one day, he ate a banana, and I was asking him, like, what's a banana all about? He's like, oh, this is my pre-workout, And so I got that from him, and so I like to have a banana the morning of. It's kind of like a pre-workout thing.
All right. So like I could, man, banana on with some peanut butter sounds so good.
It's bomb, man. Add a little blueberry to the mix.
Blueberries?
Dude. Blueberry, banana, peanut butter.
Maybe
It's
some white
delicious.
bread?
Yeah. Add some spaghetti and meatballs.
I mean, also, look, I'm aware of like what I'll burn calorically during that time frame on the run, and anything I throw in there is going to be okay as long as it doesn't piss the machine off.
And you get to test that beforehand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when you're doing your long runs, the ones that are longer than what you're traditionally doing throughout the week, take little things with you.
Just try them.
Yeah, pack a half of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Take a can of Chef Boyardee. Like, try different things. See what works. See what doesn't. At least you'll know.
What a terrible run plan. I can of Chef Boyardee. There's not an organic piece of anything in that can.
Try everything.
But you can heat it in your backpack. It's so nice that way.
Yeah.
Just a natural body warmth.
You never know, man. You never know. And also, too, when you get to an aid station and you're 15 miles or 50 miles deep, everything looks good.
I bet.
That's the trap, is knowing what is good for you and what's just looks good. You know what I mean?
What have you found that is something that you've looked at and been like, that should be fine, and you're like, it's not okay?
For me personally, what does not work for me, the cheesy quesadilla roll-ups. And that's like a
cheesy
staple.
quesadilla roll? Come on.
Man,
I'm never leaving that aid station. Matt made it to aid station 1 and just hung out and started eating food for
Why
the next
are all the
5
cheesy
hours.
roll-ups gone?
I'm just stuffing them in my bag
There's
like
no
a
food
maniac.
for anyone else.
That's it. That's the one that does not work with my system.
I'm carrying a 60-liter Osprey back for my 18 miles. It's
Your
just
little
full of food. Just dragging it.
Yeah, man. So that's one thing you want to stay away from. Don't eat the cheesy roll-ups. What typically does work well with most runners are the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which are also a staple at any race you go to. Top ramen is always a good thing.
How do you currently feel about top ramen?
I've had it so much that I don't ever eat it unless I really need it at a race.
How were you at the end of the Arizona race about top ramen?
Hey, I had like 4 of them in
know.
a row. I think you brought me a couple.
Well, I also remember you like coming in and just saying like, I'm good on ramen for a while.
Oh,
like, I don't even want to look at it
I was
ever
done.
again.
I was done with the ramen. But in that moment, the broth, the sodium, you know, having a little bit of like some easy digestible
And
carbs
warm.
and warm. That was the other thing. So the ramen's great. The peanut butter and jelly is great. Definitely eat the watermelon for the simple sugars. Stay away from the candy stuff. Candies are one of those things that look good in the moment, but there's a lot of gelatin and stuff with that can be really indigestible in your system.
Okay.
So stay away from it.
So stay away. Just stick to smart foods.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Don't be an idiot.
Yeah, and test this stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
Man, I can't stress
That's definitely what
that
I'll be
enough.
doing. I'll do that today. In fact, we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll order some stuff up, and that way I've got some stuff to try over next week while I'm trying things. And that, I assume that would help me with some of the training on longer runs of like, okay, so I've got a 3-hour run today,
Yeah.
but now I get to try 6 of these gels to see how I feel.
Exactly. Another thing that's important is timing. Okay, so we've talked about what kind of foods to try, what things to put into your water, like the electrolytes. Timing is also really important. So, like I said earlier, 100 to 200 calories is what most people can get in an hour.
Right.
What I would be focusing on is getting on a schedule, whether that's every 30 minutes you're getting calories, every 45 minutes that you're getting calories, and be consistent with that. The more that you can automate with your nutrition, the easier the race is going to be, the easier it's going to be to avoid the cramps, the indigestion, but get on a schedule. One of the things that I like to do is I have a timer on my run watch, and every 30 minutes it goes off. And I have a schedule in my mind as to what I do every time it goes off. Sometimes I have just a gel pack. Sometimes I have a gel pack and a ginger candy.
And are you rotating? Like last time I had a gel pack, this time I do this.
Exactly.
Do you ever struggle to remember what you had last time? Because
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
was last time a sandwich or was it water?
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
anymore.
I run into that for sure. But really what I try to just make sure is every time the watch goes off, let me just get some calories.
Get calories.
Yeah.
That's the big important.
That's the big thing. Something.
Anything else is a game.
Exactly.
Right.
Whatever it may be. But I've kind of found a system that I like. I like to do a gel every 30 minutes. Every hour I like to do a gel, a hard candy, and a whole food item. And that's typically like one of those like race waffles, like the Stroop waffles.
Stroop waffles rules.
So good.
The
chocolate-
honey stinger ones or
the honey
anything else?
stingers
Yeah,
are
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, so the
I'll
salted
just plow
caramel.
those and pretend they're healthy.
Yeah.
They're not just candy.
They're so, I'm getting my electrolytes with them too.
Yes.
So some of those race fuels are really good to mix in with your
You
gels.
can put peanut butter on the outside and then stick a second one to it.
I've never done that.
You don't
It's
know.
good.
Let me talk to you about strength nutrition. As
Okay.
someone back in the day who was in the hunt for getting big and strong,
Mm-hmm.
we would finish like a 2 or 3 hour like strongman training session,
Right,
which
right.
it's heavy and intense, but I wouldn't say terribly heart based.
Yeah.
We would leave there in a group of like 6 of us and go to this sushi buffet
Okay.
and eat until we could barely roll out of this.
Till they kicked you out.
Dude, just loaded with sodium and salt. The other thing I remember hearing, like a powerlifting coach, I think it's Dave Tate. He's like, if you ever one of those guys who's like, oh, I just can't put on weight.
Yeah.
He's like, here's your answer. Twice a week, I want you to order 2 large Meat Lovers pizzas.
Yeah.
Cover them in olive oil and salt and put them face down to each other. And sit and eat, and whatever you don't finish in the first 20 minutes is standing between you and your goals.
Holy. That's so intense. Man.
That's how you get stronger, fam. Anyone, I can't gain weight. You don't try hard enough.
Well, you told me that story yesterday of lean protein and
Lean protein and fast carbs
Fast
with
carbs.
Raising Cane's chicken fingers. Gary Frank's a legend.
that's the secret, I guess.
I feel good today.
We're doing it wrong, man.
So
More chicken fingers.
what about hydration?
Okay, so the big thing that you want to look at is what kind of environment are you going to be running in? Are you going to be running in snow? Are you going to be running in hot arid deserts? It depends. Typically, the warmer, the drier the climate, the more water that you want to take in per hour.
That makes sense.
Yep. And the drier the climate, I would say anywhere from like 20 to 40 ounces is kind of the range that I like to stay in. In cooler, colder climates, I typically stay in the 10 to 30. So there's a difference there. And again, we talked about being your own mad scientist. You get to figure out what works for
Right.
you.
Look, there's some rules of thumb that are going to apply. Like
Yep.
the rule of thumb that applies for everyone running is you need to hydrate.
Yeah.
The how much
Yeah.
is based on you. Now
Exactly.
we can round in some things, right, to point the compass in the right direction. But what's going to be ideal
Sure.
is going to have so many variables of the day, the time, what did you have last night, what's the heat like, what's the temperature, the humidity, those type of things. So, training here in Missouri, by the time we get to May, it'll probably get a little humid, it'll be hot, it'll be gross. And so if I'm capable of hydrating for a run during that for 4 hours, I should be okay for Bryce Canyon.
For sure.
It'll be a little bit of a trickier environment, but I also bet Bryce Canyon at the start of that race, which will be, 6-ish probably kickoff time.
Yeah, still in the dark.
It's going to be cold.
Yep.
It'll be chilly. I'm going to have to shed layers. And if I'm holding this pace, I'm done by noon.
Yep.
And so I'm not even going to get too crushed by heat of the day.
Yeah.
Whereas your thing's going to be different.
Yeah, a lot different. Another thing that's important is how much should I hydrate before I even start the race or before I begin a training?
So like water loading a couple days before.
Water loading a couple days before is great, but even the morning of is important. So the morning of, what I find that works best for me is
IV bags.
Exactly. Inject it.
Yes!
Inject the waters, all of it.
I take all my medication.
So anywhere from like 15 to 20 ounces. It doesn't need to be a ton because you're going to be injecting water on a regular basis throughout the rest of your run.
So say like drink one of these guys with a noon or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
That's it. You don't need a ton. Like when I first started running, I thought I need to have a full bottle, a Monster or a kombucha. Like I need a ton of water. And then within the first 5 minutes as I'm running, I'm peeing like 2 or 3, 4 different times.
Not great.
Yeah, not good at all. I'm actually dehydrating myself as much as I'm peeing. So don't need to drink a ton in the beginning.
And that's something else about water too. I know that you want to make sure that you've got some of the stuff like element packs or any of that in the water, because of it having those minerals, it actually hydrates you. Whereas if water has a low mineral content, it'll dehydrate you because the way water acts with minerals, right? Like it leaches whichever way, so that water wants the minerals. So if it has minerals, it'll give them to you.
Yes.
And if it doesn't, it'll pull them from you and then you piss them out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. The same thing applies with food. We were talking about food a minute ago. When you have more food within your system, especially in the beginning of a run versus say gels, your body is going to pull a bunch of blood from your muscles and it's going to put it into your stomach to digest that food.
You don't want that.
You don't want that because then it's going to make cramping more relevant. It's going to make your pace fall off. So I really recommend gels over whole foods in the beginning.
Large meat lovers pizza cover and olive oil and salt to start the day.
Please don't.
I'll just Michael Scott it for that 5K there. He's like just shoveling Alfredo into his mouth like 30 seconds before the run. He's like, oh, carb loading.
I just saw that episode for the first time last week.
It's great. I'm definitely taping my nipples up.
I just
never been a problem, but you better believe I'm having some sweet X's on these boobies. Keep it sexy if I'm going to tape them.
That's right.
Anything else nutrition-wise you can think of? Or?
Yeah, I think we talked about numbers for electrolytes, typically between 600 to 800 milligrams. Calories are within 100 to 200 calories per hour. Water is important. Prehydration is important. During the race, figure out what works for you, depending on your climate. 10 to 30 grams or ounces if you're running in colder climates. Higher end of 20 to 40 if you're running in more dry, arid climates. I stress the importance of testing everything. The only thing that I would add to this is if you don't start early enough in this process, it's only going to get more challenging as you get to your race.
Makes sense.
You want to start early enough so that you're not stressing last minute.
See, and I can feel that, right? Because I'm already, just because the runs I feel are so short.
Yeah.
Like, even though they're an hour, they're big for me, but I know they're not big.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm using that someone else's metric of big to decide, like, well, I don't need gels or any of that shit yet.
Yeah.
Whereas, why don't I have some and the 30-minute mark, take one?
Sure. And
then I can at least say, that's how I felt. Especially if I'm fasted, I should be able to actually feel what that variable is more than anything else, because 100%. There isn't anything else in the system.
And you're training your body to get used to accepting calories on a regular basis.
Yep.
When you get into these short runs that you do throughout the week, like the ones that are just an hour or two, what I like to do is I'll have calories before I even start, so that I just know I got food in my system or gel in my system, and then I'll start taking them every half hour.
Okay.
So the shorter the run, you still want to make sure that you're getting calories. So start right at the beginning with a little bit, and then continue to go.
Have whole foods when you can.
Exactly.
So like pre-run, if I'm going to go run in 30 minutes or 45 minutes like we did this morning, right? perhaps have some of those egg bites,
Yeah.
or don't do a bunch of gels.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do a bunch of gels in the beginning. Have a little bit of whole
Also, they're
foods.
expensive.
Yeah.
Eggs are cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. The gels are kind of spendy. But what I did in the beginning, before I was figuring out my system, is I was writing everything down. I would take notes. So on today's run, I knew that gel didn't work for me every 45 minutes. I needed to back it up to 30. And having those notes was so nice to be able to reflect back on at the end of a training block to see what worked and what didn't.
That's great. Okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll be ordering some snacks.
Yeah, man. Snack stuff is fun.
Yeah, dude, snacks all the way.
All the way.
There you go. There's some endurance nutrition from our
Electrolytes, calories, water.
Yeah, that's it. So take care of yourself. I hope this helps you guys. And again, I just want to give you some tips to remove the barrier that if you're interested in running and you don't know how to start, I don't either. I'm just going to fucking start doing it and figuring it out as I go, because I'm going to be bad at it no matter how long I wait and how much education I try to give myself on it until I start running.
Yep.
So I may as well start running and then educating while I'm doing it.
Yep.
Instead of that paralysis through analysis that people get, that like, oh, but I don't have shoes to run, or oh, but I don't know what to do, or any of these things. Like, just do something.
Yeah.
Go run down your street 10 times for something. Who gives a shit?
Running is one of the most minimalistic things that we can do. You don't even need shoes.
I've always been jealous of that because I love cycling.
Yeah.
But getting ready to go for a long bike ride is a fucking ordeal.
Yeah, you got stuff
I
everywhere,
have
right?
shit everywhere, which is part of what I love.
Yeah.
But man, it's really cool, the idea that I could just throw on shoes and leave out of my front door today like we did, and go jog through Forest Park and then be back home and like, cool, shoes.
Done. That's all I
Yeah.
need is shoes. Don't overthink this. Just get out there, have fun, try everything, be your own mad scientist, and enjoy the process of it.
So in the meantime, check out Roster Runner on Instagram. We'll link it below. And Dan's got some programs for sale where he's helping people with mobility programming. He's also doing some 5K and 10K runs. So if you're looking for a place to start that's going to be good information, here you go. This is helping me run. He can help you run.
Yeah, man.
Spread hate, always party.
Always play.